Hi everybody, this is Osprey from mychartcoach.com, and in this video we're going to take a look at the semiconductors. Lam Research is going to be reporting tomorrow after the close, and so it's going to be kicking off the semiconductor earnings season. As you can see here, we have futures trading that's hitting the high of the evening here, so pushing up higher slowly, not big gains. VIX keeps dropping. I mean, look at that. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Basically, what 1, 2, 3, like 7 down days in a row. Basically, it's just been pulling back. It looks like it could hit that 15 level. For over here, we had the Netflix report, and so Netflix was running after hours, so that should be lifting the technology sector, should be lifting Nasdaq, should be lifting S&P 500's pushing higher. We've got Dow Jones pushing. They're all stair climbing higher right now. So yeah, if we look here at the Lam Research, this is from Investors Business Daily here, and tomorrow is going to be kicking off for Lam Research, and yeah, you could see here they're expecting a 56% earnings gain to 436 a share, and yeah, basically this is kicking off the earnings season for the semiconductor sector. This is you need to have this sector running to carry the Nasdaq higher. That would be super bullish. We'll have to see if they can follow through. If you look down here, ASML and TSM are also reporting later this week. So yeah, so we have a lot in play. So it's going to be what's going to happen with Lam Research. It was down today. I'll show you the chart in a second, and so we're going to see if it can heat up and get moving. Okay, let's look at SOXX. This is the semiconductor ETF. You can see it closed up slightly for the day. It's struggling with getting above 50 here. It's just hitting that level. Once it busts above 50, like it did back here at the start of this run, it'll signal that it's ready to push higher. Fasto's heating up. It's above 50 now. As you can see on the last run, it broke above 50, and that's when it started cooking. So right now it's working on the middle Bollinger Band and the 50-day simple moving average. Okay, so if it can break 181.62, that's the green line, that'll signal that it wants to head higher. If it fails to break above that 182 resistance zone, that would be a red flag. It's currently holding the middle Bollinger Band at 180.34. As long as that level holds, that'll signal the start of a new uptrend. Today was the first close above that level. Besides, there was a close right at that level again last week on Thursday, and so the middle Bollinger Band support level broke back here in March, and there hadn't been a close above until it closed right at that level last week, and then now it's trying to turn that level into support. So it's all about breaking that 181. If you see it trading at 182 or above, that's going to be super bullish. So what we're looking for the semiconductors is to turn that 50-day simple moving average into support. That should be the signal. It's like back here in February on this candle on the 14th of February, it closed above the green line, and that's when it was the clear signal that it was heading higher. That's what everybody's looking for. So we're going to see if it can happen. I mean, notice how nobody's placing bets right now. The volume is super low, so people are just holding tight, right? Look how low the volume is, right? That one of the lowest volume days. If you look back here before the previous run in December, look how low the volume was. Super low volume, and then bam, breakout higher. And that happens many times. Look how low the volume was right here. The last time it hit this level in February, it ended up pushing higher, starting to run. Now the inverse of that happened back here before the drop. There was light volume, and then bam, the floor fell out and it dropped. Now we've got the light volume, and this is possibly the light volume precursor before the push higher. That would be my guess. Okay, so because Netflix did well today, it could have closed stronger after hours, but it had a good day. You got to say that's a positive day for Netflix. So we'll see if the other semiconductors can follow through when they get a chance to, and chip makers when they get a chance to report later this week. Let's look at SOXL. So if the semiconductors get running, this is the semiconductor bull 3 times, and so you can see it closed up 0.64%. Notice how this is 1.8, so it moves 3 times the movement of the SOX, and so yeah, a lot of people trade this, and you know, if it gets above 50, that would signal it's heating up. Above 50 on Fasto, hit signal it's heating up as well. What it's working on is this middle Bollinger Band. Once it gets above that middle Bollinger Band at 153.85, basically above 154, that's going to signal that it's ready to get moving. And then what you want to see is a break above the 150-day simple moving averages, above 160.50, a close above. That would be your signal. Okay, yeah, this is actually ready to head higher. That's what it did back here in February when it closed above the gold line here, and then above the green line. That was the signal that this uptrend was happening, right? And so it followed with the middle Bollinger Band break. This is what we want to see here. You know, if you're a bull, you're looking for this type of development. You know, look back here when it closed above the green line. You know, that signal to move higher, and so that's what everyone's looking for. That's looking for SOXL to push higher. Now to the downside, let's say you know, Lam Research does you know, the numbers don't come in good, or there's the forward-looking guidance isn't good. Then you know, to the downside, if it fails to hold EMA 8 at 148, that's going to be a red flag. It could drop all the way down and retest that 200-day simple moving average at 134. It has to break the middle Bollinger Band in the 50, 100, and 100-day simple moving average in order to get a new uptrend going. Well, let's say it does pull back, you know, and you're like, oh yeah, now you know the semiconductors are under pressure. Lam Research, you know, on Wednesday, you know, it turns off. They sold it off on Tuesday, and Wednesday's a red day for the sector. Then you would be looking at the semiconductor bear 3 times, okay, and this goes down 3 times when the semiconductors go up. But if they go down, then this would move, you know, 3 times the movement to the inverse of the SOXX, and so basically what it needs to do is get above that middle Bollinger Band as well. They both have kind of similar type of setups. You know, it's below the middle Bollinger Band, it's below the EMA 4, except for this was a much stronger chart. You can see it had been in an uptrend, and then it stalled out at the 100-day simple moving average and pulled back. So now what it has to do is get above this 50-day simple moving average at 1224. If it closes above that level, then you could see it retrace back up to that 100-day simple moving average. If EMA 4 here at 1182 remains resistance, that's going to be your signal that this chart is still bearish, and that you want to be long the semiconductors. Okay, so if this heats up, that's going to signal the semiconductors are heading lower, and if this stays in this new downtrend, that's going to be positive for the semiconductors, and it's going to signal that stocks like LRCX should be moving higher. So we're going to look at Lam Research here. So they're going to report after the closing bell tomorrow. Okay, so with Netflix, if you loaded Netflix calls before the close, I mean, you're looking pretty good tomorrow. So is that going to pay off for people tomorrow if they load LRCX calls? If you look here, you can see here, this is the options for LRCX, and you can see the calls and puts were both down today. You know, you have you know, calls trading, you know, for fairly cheap right now. You know, this is the expiring next week, or the end of this week. So yeah, these are going to be you know, time decay is going to be crushing these April 20th. But just to show, I mean, you have you know, it's just interesting. You know, keep an eye on the calls. We'll see if they heat up, if LRCX ends up breaking out and running. What it needs to do here on the chart. Okay, so it's trying to hold on to the 50, above 50 on our side. That's good. It needs to stay above that level. It needs to get above 50 on Fasto, and then you can see here that the green and the red line have been going back and forth. You want to see that green line breaking out above the red line, similar to right here, where it broke out above. Right here, it broke out above, and then the candles took off. You know. So that's what you're looking for here, that breakout with plus DI, and then you can see here there's a on the chart there's a descending resistance line. So here's descending resistance. If it can break above this 207.50 level, you can see it trading up at 208. That's going to signal it wants to break out higher. The real level to break right now, it's all about the middle Bollinger Band at 204. Okay, so above 204, close above that level, that should be the signal, okay, Lam Research is ready to head higher. If it struggles with 204 and it turns into resistance, it could drop down and test that 50-day simple moving average at 198. It's trying, it bounced off the bottom of this channel. It's been holding the gold and the green lines, the 50 and 100-day simple moving averages. It's currently above the EMA's 4, 8, and 13. It's working on the middle Bollinger Band, which is the 20-day simple moving average, and that's currently the top moving average on this chart. If you look over here, it's currently trading above every single moving average except for the middle Bollinger Band at 204. And so that's actually, once it breaks above and turns that level into support, it'll be a very strong chart. That's the setup on this candle right here on March 5th. On March 5th, it was trading above all the moving averages. On this candle right here on January 17th, now it's above all the moving averages. It's riding EMA 4. Once it gets above that middle Bollinger Band, which it tried to do last week on Thursday, that's going to be your signal. Okay, yeah, it's ready to go. And the cool thing is that it would be the start of a new uptrend. Okay, because it hasn't even started a new uptrend yet. So if it does follow through and it does take off, then you could see it. You could get some juice to the upside, since it's had a nice pullback from 235 high, and it's hasn't even gotten above the middle Bollinger Band yet. So it's not like you'd be chasing; you'd be hitting it at the start of the uptrend. But it to be a good play, it has to be above 204. Now, if you look at the 15-minute chart, you can see this downtrending channel. It has descending resistance. It broke above the top of the channel on this candle, but you can see this trend line is solid coming through here, and then you've got the descending support, and so basically it's at the top of this channel right now, and it's at that 50 simple moving average. Once again, it's all about this 204 level, 204, 204.50. Get above both those levels, that would be super bullish, and then once it gets above 205, that should be a clear sign that it's reversing this downtrend and it's breaking out to the upside. Now to the downside, if it drops below this 203.50, that would be a red flag, and you could see it drop back down to test 202. As you can see, the bottom, if things don't work out well, the bottom of the channel is now hitting down here at that 200 simple moving average at 200. So that would be to the worst case scenarios. It would pull back and hit this support zone between 199 and 200, where you'd likely see a technical bounce. It just depends on how the earnings are going to go. We'll see tomorrow if it heats up beforehand and gives us clues. Okay, and for the thing with Netflix is it pulling back today. I mean, that helped people get more momo to the upside today. They had more momentum to the upside and after hours, because it had pulled back. If it had run into the if it was running, if Netflix was running during the regular session today, there would have been less gains after hours likely. And so so if Lam Research pulls back, I don't know if is that going to be it could be a loading opportunity. We'll have to see. You have to do your research on whether or not their earnings are going to go good. The forecast is predicted to be well. It's going to be all about future expectations. And so if we look at TSM, they're going to be reporting later this week. So this is Taiwan Semiconductor. These are all trade options. Once again, the big thing is going to be breaking above the 50 and 20-day simple moving averages, that middle Bollinger Band there. If it can get above 43.50, that's going to be your big signal. Okay, yeah, it's ready to head higher. It has to turn the level into support. Notice that the last two closes above the middle Bollinger Band, it failed to hold that level and it pulled back. It's been riding the 100-day simple moving average at 42.50. The candles are in a flex point here. They're either going to drop below 42.50 or they're going to break above 43.50. Going forward, above 43.50 signals more upside, below 42.50 signals downside risk. In between those two two levels is kind of no man's land right now. You know, it's a clearer picture if it breaks above or breaks below support. You know, if it breaks below the 100 and things go bad, then you're looking at that 200, you know, possible retest down here of the February lows. You know, that would be a really bad scenario. You know, is that going to happen here with Taiwan Semiconductor, or is earnings going to go good? It's going to break out above that 50 and middle Bollinger Band and make a run back up here to this 45 level. So yeah, do your research. Time's running out. The earnings are coming up, and they're coming up for ASML as well. So we've got this another semiconductor that's reporting later this week. Now it's actually above the middle Bollinger Band, and so it has an uptrend going. Notice that it's you know, it's trying to it's just trying to hold on to support here, you know, keep this uptrend going, and then we'll see if it can. You can see here today it broke out above the high close from last week. And so you want to see it stay above this 206 level, and then if it keeps the uptrend going, you know, 2014 in that upper Bollinger Band will be the target. You know, you'd be looking for it to work its way back up to that level. It's been holding EMA4 at 205.50. If that level holds, you know, that would be bullish. If it closes below, you'd get that middle Bollinger Band back on deck at 202.80. That's the big level to hold. As long as that middle Bollinger Band is holding, it's a signal that this new uptrend is intact. Okay, so it just has to break above resistance here. You know, this 208 level. You know, you got this high close here that it's struggling with from the 26, and you know, break above that, and 214 will be back on deck. And so yeah, so we'll see if it can keep cruising higher. Yeah, it's got a good uptrend going. And then if you look at Intel has a good uptrend going as well. You know that this has been holding up way better than most stocks lately. It's at 50. You know, maybe this is a good sign for the semiconductors that Intel's so strong. I know they all have their own, you know, they've all had their own personal things going on, but Intel has been a sign of strength in the sector lately. It's been really strong. It's been holding up for a while. You know, it got up here to this 53 level, and then it's back at it. You know, it's trying to break through and head to that next upper level. As you can see here, there was this high close here on the 26th of March, and then check out how last week it actually closed above that level. And so that's, you know, that's going to be super bullish if it can get above that, you know, 52.50 level. That, you know, another close above 52.50 would be you know, a signal that it wants to head higher. And then it's all about breaking that closing price from Thursday of last week. You know, if it gets up there at you know, 52.75 close, 53 or above, that's going to be your signal. Yes, it's breaking out and it's heading to that next level. It's signaling that it wants to do that. You know, you know, closing above this closing price last week was the clue that it wants to break out higher. It keeps doing that. I mean, you can see here where it closed above this level. So first you had the high close here, and then this came up and made a higher close, and then it came down, and this made a higher close, and then so now what you're looking for is a higher close, you know, above this one. You know, it's stair-stepping higher. We'll see if it can break out. It's trying to. You know, once again, you've got the light volume, you have MACD bull cross, you have the PSAR bull flip. You know, everything's set up on the chart. It just has to follow through and break through resistance. Okay, check out Micron. Okay, this is another semiconductor. You know, it's been under the pressure. It's been the one that got downgraded. You know, but it did find support down here at the 50 and 100-day simple moving averages. So it bounced off this 100-day simple moving average zone at 47, and then it got back above the green line. That's the 50-day simple moving average. It needs to hold that level at 50.36. And right now it's trying to turn EMAs 4, 8, and 13 into support. They're all converged in the same zone between 51.40 and 51.75. You know, in that zone right there. If they can get above 51.75 MU, and then the next big level to break would be getting above that middle Bollinger Band at 53.29. That's the huge thing on this chart. Once Micron can turn that middle Bollinger Band into support, it can get an uptrend going. It's currently above all the moving averages right now. You know, the only moving average that it needs needs to break. Two of them are EMA 13, the orange line at 51.76, and the middle Bollinger Band, which is the 20 simple moving average at 53.29. Once it's above both those moving averages, it'll be like back here in February when it was above all the moving averages and it had a strong uptrend. Now let's say it fails to get above the middle Bollinger Band and EMA's 4 and 8 support break, then it would come down and test that 50-day simple moving average. And if that support level failed to hold, that would be the red flag. That would signal this new downtrend is still intact, and it would put that 100-day simple moving average and lower Bollinger Band back on deck. Keep in mind, candles forming below the middle Bollinger Band or in the bearish lower Bollinger Band channel. Between the lower Bollinger Band bottom of the channel and the middle Bollinger Band is the top. So it's currently trying to break out through the top of the channel, fail to break, and this would be a temporary top. Okay, let's look at advanced micro devices. Okay, this is another one that got beaten down. It's trying to reverse. It closed up 1.6%. It has the exact same type of setup. You know, it's hitting that middle Bollinger Band right now. It's holding the EMA's 4 and 8. It's actually above EMA's 4, 8, and 13. It doesn't have the same setup as MU. You know, MU is actually a healthier chart because it's above the 50, 100, 200, and 300-day simple moving averages. It's above all those moving averages, so it's much better. I mean, look at advanced micro. It's below the 300, below the 200, below the 150-day simple moving averages. It's below all those, so it's a much more bearish chart technically. But it is trying to bounce. It needs to get above that middle Bollinger Band at 10.18. If it can turn that level into support, that's finally going to be the signal that it wants to head higher. There hasn't been a close above the middle Bollinger Band since back here in March, and so the close below here on this red candle signaled the start of the downtrend, and so a close back above could signal the possible start of a new uptrend. It would have to hold. What you have to be on the lookout for here is that bear flag. You know, it has that kind of bear flag type of look here, where it has ascending support and horizontal resistance here, and so you know, one of these two levels is going to break, right? It's at the flex point right now. Either the middle Bollinger Band resistance level is going to break, or EMA's 4 and 8 support are going to break. So basically, it's 10.20 to make it easy. 10.20 and above signals upside potential. Below $10. You know, below 9.95, that signals downside risk. Okay, so it's just wound really tight right here. Okay, let's look at Nvda here, ticker symbol Nvda. This is Nvidia. Yeah, so this is another one that's trying to heat up. This is a top dog, right? We have Bitcoin heating back up. You know, is this gonna you know, it had the bounce and everything. If Bitcoin can stay above 8,000, that would be probably good for Nvidia, you would think, since they're tied so closely together now. And yeah, if you know, and if Bitcoin gets running after tax season, like people are saying, then maybe the Bitcoin-related stocks would really heat up as well. So it's going to be all about breaking this 50-day simple moving average at 235.77. So basically, Nvda above 236 and above, that's going to be your green light. That's going to be like, yes, it's on, it's happening, and this could possibly run back up to 250. You know, that's the upside potential. You know, if things go good and the semiconductors have a bullish outlook, and Lam Research and the others that are reporting everything goes great, then we'll be looking for this to retrace back up to 250 if it can break that 236 level. Now, it did close back above the middle Bollinger Band, and that's exactly what we wanted to see at 230.62. If that level fails to hold, that would be a red flag. It has to hold that level to get a new uptrend going. This is the third close in a row where it's closed either at or above that level, so it's turning it into support. It's above EMA's 4, 8, and 13. It's working on breaking out higher. You know, all it has to do now is get above that 50-day simple moving average. That's the top moving average on the daily chart. Once it's in support, you know, turns into support, then it's like back here in January. You know, where it broke above the 50-day simple moving average, and then it was party time. You know, if you're a bull, you're riding. It's like the good old days. Remember in 2017 when everything was so easy for everybody that was a passive investor and they were just riding? Well, that's what happens when you get above all the moving averages and the candles are riding EMA's 4 and 8 support higher. And so that's what could possibly happen if the 50-day simple moving average resistance level breaks. But if it fails to break, and let's say the worst case scenario is semiconductors are just crashing crashing and burning, then EMAs 4 and 8 would be the key level to hold. If it dropped below 228.50, that would be the red flag. That would put the 100-day simple moving average back on deck. It has to hold that 223.50, or else you get a drop down to that lower Bollinger Band zone and that previous low close. But that 215 level would be tested. Okay, and finally, let's finish up here with Smart Global Holdings. Yeah, so I don't know much about this stock, but they were mentioned in that article, and that they are a what does it say here about Smart Global Holdings? Yeah, right here. Yeah, they're a recent IPO. So they're saying here that the Investors Business Daily is saying they're screaming higher until they this is a memory chip maker, okay, like Micron, so we've got memory chip makers, we have big chip gear makers, ASML is a big cap gear maker, and so there's so basically I guess this was the recent IPO, and it did pull back. It had that nice uptrend going. It hit that 55 level. It dropped below the middle Bollinger Band here, and so basically what I would be looking at is a possible bounce off of this 50-day simple moving average at 40. If it comes down there and hits 40, that would be a nice technical level for a bounce. It's in a bearish downtrend right now. If you're looking to play this long, and it breaks above this EMA 13 at 45.22, that should be the signal that it wants to head higher, at least get a technical bounce, and then if it can get back above the middle Bollinger Band and break that 47 resistance level, it could get an uptrend going again, similar to back here. You can see how when it broke below the middle Bollinger Band back here in January, it dropped down, it hit the 50, and it even hit the 100. So you might want to hold out and wait and see if it hits that 100 as well, which is right below at 37. Just have to see. I mean, if the semiconductors, if the sector gets running and you have the chip makers and they all are cruising, then maybe this will get the technical bounce that it needs to get that reversal going. Yeah, so currently the 50-day simple moving average is lined up with the lower Bollinger Band. So I would think there would be some good support off that 40 level when tested. Okay, thank you very much for viewing this video. If you'd like to learn more about charts and technical analysis, come check out our chat. As you can see, we've got the futures creeping up, making those new highs, and you have to just be amazed at VIX here. I mean, the bottom line, as Pizza Maker likes to say in chat, and other people like to say, the VIX don't lie. When VIX is dropping like this, it's saying that there's not risk in the markets, and as you can see, the markets are trying to get a little rally here going. We'll see if they can continue, or if it's gonna, watch VIX when it gets down here to 15. That could be the level where it gets a technical bounce. Okay, thanks for viewing this video.